Okay, welcome back YouTube to another Battle of Strasbourg project update. So it's been 4 weeks to the day since I've done a project update, and as I said in my last video, that's because I went on vacation for 10 days in Spain. So last week of April, first week of May, no painting happened. But the day I did come back, I got back the night of the 6th and May 7th, bam, plowed straight into painting and finished off some Aventine archers. So we're back, baby. We're grinding. The end is near. The light is bright at the end of the tunnel. We are close to exiting the tunnel and being wheels down for the Battle of Strasbourg. So we just got to put our heads down and paint the last like 80-ish miniatures and get done with the project. Very doable. We got exactly 8 weeks to the day until the battle, or until I fly to go to the the convention. So it can be done. All we got to do, paint 45 more miniatures, for, in a 4 week span, do that twice, bam, you're there. So I'll go through, I'll show you what I painted for May. I got done with about 54-ish miniatures, which was my goal. My goal was to do 50 for the month. So we did hit our goal, but we didn't exceed it like February, March, and April. But we did meet the goal barely. And I still might get some more work done in the next 3 or 4 days that I have left for the month to paint. On top of that, we did do a rehearsal game. So me, Triarius, and Drake did a rehearsal game using Tabletop Simulator on Steam. If you guys don't know what that is, you can actually download a video game, and it has a bunch of downloadable content and mods. You can essentially war game like Flames of War or To the Strongest or Bolt Action, and recreate war games tabletop war games on a computer. So we actually got on Discord and we actually rehearsed our game. It was great. Triarius taught us a lot about the rules that we were effing up in the 2 previous games that me and Drake had done at my house. So thank you very much, Triarius, for squaring us away. And then I got some gaming aids. We're at the point now where we're putting the project together. We're getting all the gaming aids together. We're finalizing everything. We already have the dates locked in. We're running 4 games, 4 4-hour games. So if you're going to be at Historicon, there's going to be 4 opportunities over Saturday and Sunday for you to participate in the game. And I think we're doing 6 or 8 player games. I got to look at the registration again. I know it changed, but I think 6. I think we're doing 6 player games, so 3 on each side. So, there's a decent amount of opportunity if you want to get in on the game, whether you got to be barbarian or Roman. I know people will have preferences one way or the other. And that might be, more difficult unless you're like super early to register for the games, which should be happening relatively soon on Historicon. So on top of that, we will go over some of the research material that I used when researching these units, these periods, the equipment, uniforms, etc., and just show you guys kind of like when I go after a project in a period like this, some of the work that I put into it, and I'm not talking, obviously I have a bachelor's degree in ancient history and classics, so like Roman history is kind of my thing, and I've read about it for at this point over 20 years, and so I already have a really solid foundation on Roman and ancient history in general, but you do need to refresh, and you can always learn more. So we'll go over the primary and secondary source materials that I use when doing projects like this. So stand by. All right, we're in handheld mode here, so I'll try not to make y'all sick, but these were the first 2 units. So I actually got the majority of the archers here. These are Aventine armored archers, and I got the majority of them done before I left on vacation. They only had about a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours left, and I finished them up the day after I got back. But beautiful models, a joy to paint. I loved them. Loved them. And then here is their associated Auxilia Palatina unit that they attach to. These are also Aventine. These are guards and armored guys and extra heavy armor. I mean, some of these guys are just absolutely yoked. You can see the command group there. They got a mix of male, scale. They got, some of them have padded jerkins and padded jackets. I'm forgetting the medieval term for a padded jacket for some reason. Over top their mail, just a lot of cool stuff. So what I painted over the last few days were these guys. So this is going to be one of the commands. This is actually going to be the divisional command here. Forgot to paint the shield boss. I'll go back and get it, don't worry. But as you can see, I just did the ground texture on all these bases here, so we'll flock them tomorrow. But these are a mix of Aventine and Footsore. The standard bearer with the Vexillum is Footsore, and then the guy drawing the sword is also Footsore, but the rest are Aventine. And how I do my divisional commanders is I always include a shield transfer or shield pattern from one of the units they're attached to. So if you remember from way back 6 months ago, this is the Foundry command for the small division I'm bringing. They have shield transfers to match one of the units that they're going to be commanding. And then on top, and oh yeah, I added a little bit of terrain bits on there to try and make them a little bit interesting. And then here we go. This is technically not for the project. I'm going to bring it in case we need it. But this is an Emperor. So now Triarius is doing Julian himself with his retinue. I am not responsible for Julian, but I did want an overall commander for my army. And this is supposed to be Valens or Theodosius the Great, who isn't great. I say that every video, but that's his moniker. But yeah, so I really like, so he's really Christianized. If you know anything about Valens, you know, Valens wasn't really super oppressive to pagans, but Theodosius was. So I have all the Christian iconography, crosses, and all that good stuff on these guys. And the reason why I think it'd be a good Theodosius is that two of his guys, one of his musicians, and this guy here are very Germanic looking. And if you know anything, you know, Theodosius, quote unquote, the Great, was the bastard that cut deals with the Germans / used the Germans to go kill other Romans. So yeah, I don't know how anybody consider him to be great, but so that's why I kind of wanted it to be like Theodosius to represent Theodosius the Great, because I was like, oh, those are two really Germanic looking figures. He had a lot of Germanics in his campaigns, and then like the guys on the left are all like very Roman looking. So pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool. So I think he turned out great, and I think he could be a good Valens too. So, and then I did paint just a couple horses. These are for the cavalry commanders. I'm working on the riders and the hero figures on my paint desk. So this is what I'm hoping to finish out for the rest of the month. Those are some of the riders for those horses, and then I'll just pan over on the painting desk, as you can see there, Belisarius. That's technically King Arthur, but he's just going to be a generic hero for the cavalry that we can use into the strongest. So that's what we painted this month in May. What we got left is we got 24 cavalry, so two 12-man units of cavalry. We got the 48-man unit of Aventine shield wall guys. And then we got a 12-man unit of javelins for the small division. That's what we got left, guys. Not a lot left. So it's definitely, we're under 100 miniatures, definitely. You know, we'll get it done. You can see here, I already got horses primed. I already got some cataphract riders primed. You know, javelin men primed. So we got plenty of stuff to work on. There's still a small possibility I could get done with this stuff by the end of June, and then have 2.5 weeks in July to get another warband painted. I already have a warband ready to go. They can be painted. Just need to clean them up and prime them. But they're all collected, ready to go with shield transfers. So, you know, if we're able to crank, then we can, you know, add another 50 miniatures to the tally, which means I'd be bringing 600 miniatures to the game, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. 600 miniatures, wow. So to travel clear across the country with at that. So additionally, For victory medals, still in handheld mode, guys, sorry. But I got all the tokens we need. So these are 2 Roman coins. I really like these ones. These ones are with Constantine and Sol Invictus on the other side. And they are just cool, and they fit the period perfectly, because obviously, if you guys didn't know, Julian was the last of the Constantinian dynasty. So I think Constantine the Great coins are great. And then these are just some generic middle imperial coins right here that I got. So, and then for the barbarians, I actually couldn't find, the Germans didn't really have coins. They kind of used them. They kind of used Roman stuff. But I found these early Saxon coins. They don't have any sort of writing on them. They're just kind of like pictorial, maybe some runic stuff, which works great for Germanics in general. I mean, the Saxons were Germanic. So we're going to use these for the Alemanni. So we're getting that. Drake's printing off all the gaming aids, the quick reference guides, hopefully unit stat cards, because we probably need unit stat cards too. So that way we can make the game flow. And then, yeah, just a few small housekeeping stuff. So I'll pause, and then we'll go to sources. Here's a pile of books. So I use a variety of resources, and obviously you got some resources online. There's some great online blogs, YouTube sources. I mean, there's some good online stuff. I'm not going to talk about those. I'm just going to talk about some of the books that I use. So, starting out, and this is going to be no shocker to any wargamer here. We got the Osprey series, and I own probably 30 different Osprey books. Not as many as Von Ketteringham. I see his Osprey collection. It's like freaking 3 large bookshelves of them. But I do have a good number of them. They're very hit and miss. This one is actually pretty good. I find these ones on the battles, like this one's on the Milvian Bridge. And this one's really good. So, Constantine the Great right here. This is going to be the beginning of the late Roman period. So this one's pretty good. I use this one mainly for art. But as you can see here, you got guys armed with swords, spatha, and then you got guys armed with spiculum, javelins, late pilum type weapons. So pretty cool, and a variety of armors there, but definitely with the later ridge helm type stuff. So a lot of great art you can draw out of here and to see actual pieces of equipment, and it actually explains the battle really well. That's the good. The bad, I don't like these ones. I've had this one for a while. This is more centered around Adrianople. But yeah, this one's not that good. I mean, it has some okay illustrations, but other than that, I don't like these versus ones. I have another one, like Greek versus Persian, and I don't like it. They're not very good. They don't really tell you much. But this one is really good. This is another battle one, and it is really good. Really, 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 really good. If you're really interested in the late Roman period for wargaming, I would suggest this one a lot. So I read this one through and through. And it just so happens to be on the battle that I'm doing. And so here's a book that I found, and this isn't a very scholarly book. This is more by an amateur historian. I say amateur, he still has a master's in classics. But what I like about this book, I'm going to shift here so I can better flip through it, is that this book not only does it talk about Belisarius, which would have been 150 years after Julian, but it has art in here. Let's see if we can find some that has like maps, and then obviously it has the famous mosaics and coins and all that from the late period, but it has these sketches of soldiers. As you can see here, this looks the same. The representation of these soldiers are the same out of that constant, the Milvian Bridge book I showed you. It's a dude with a spiculum. It's guys in chainmail. It's guys with ridge helms, with trousers, with the banded metal greaves there. So Belisarius was around in the early 6th century. Not a lot of stuff changed, guys. That's why I'm saying a lot of this stuff is still very much applicable. These are Germanic warriors that would have also fought for Rome. Not a lot changed. So And then it also has some reproduction and original pieces of equipment here. So this book is really good too. I read it a long time ago, kind of as like just to learn. That's actually one of the first books I learned about the late Roman period or early Byzantine period. So great little book there. It's by Ian Hughes. I got it for like $7, so can't complain. Guys, I don't know if I've showed this book off before, but this is the Illustrated Encyclopedia of the Uniforms of the Roman period, of the Roman world, rather. It goes all the way from Bronze Age, from the Villanovan period, all the way to late Byzantine. And it has allies, friend, foe, everything. And it is I'll just go to a page here, a random page. Okay, here we are. We're at Roman Britain. That's Boudica. That's a tatted up Gaul, or a Celtic warrior, a British Celtic warrior. There's the famous British Celtic chariots, and there's artwork like this in every page of the book. And it's an amazing source just for the artwork, so you can figure out how to paint all of these various. If you do not have this book, if you're into ancient wargaming and you don't have this book, you're wrong. You're wrong. Buy this book. It's not cheap. It's probably like $40-50. I've had it for a few years now, but it is good. It is very good. And I got this from another YouTuber. I can't remember what YouTuber suggested this book, but I can't take credit for it. This is another book right here, and as you see, it has some late Roman reenactors on it. This book isn't that good for the information, but there are a decent amount of photographs in it. It does show equipment, reproduction, and originals. But as you can see here, you can see reenactor photos. So there you go. So if you want to see what it looks like in the real eye, then you can see it. But it also shows it has some originals in there. And oddly enough, it also has obviously. So look at that. I painted some of those guys. Those are footsore cataphracts. But yeah, so that way you can see how the shield wall works with reenactors, right? And they got a vexillum in the back there with them, their spears are not uniformly painted. They're just all sorts of, barber pole patterns on that, colors on there. So that's an okay book. The information isn't the best. Man, the dogs went crazy. So here is the main primary source I used here. So Minianus, if you don't know, he was a late Roman historian, but he was also a part of the Roman political system. I don't know if he was in the military bureaucracy or the civil service bureaucracy, because remember, in the late Roman period, they diverged. You had a separate path for military leaders and a separate path for civil administrators. And I can't remember which side he fell on, but he was with Julian. I think he was with Julian through parts of the Gaul campaign. I don't think he was at Strasbourg, but he was definitely with Julian through the Parthian campaign. So he had firsthand, he may not have been at the battle, but he was with all the people who were at the battle. So he essentially has firsthand knowledge of the Battle of Strasbourg and that campaign in general, and the Parthian campaign in which, Julian died in. So you got to recognize his bias. He's very, very pro-Julian. Julian was his friend. There's no. You just got to recognize it. He's not going to talk shit about Julian. You're not going to hear this guy calling him the apostate, right? Which is fine. You just got to know that, okay, he's going to really sell Julian. I got to say I'm a little biased. I like Julian as an emperor. I think he's one of my favorite Roman emperors, and I think it's one of the big what-ifs of history. Had Julian not died on that, campaign in the East, he could have been another Julius Caesar. I think he could have restored the glory of Rome. The army loved him. He was a proven successful general. He was restoring the traditional values of Rome, backpedaling on a lot of the crap that Constantine's kids did to tear apart the Roman fabric, and he was clawing back at that. And I think he would have went down as a Marcus Aurelius, Trajan, Augustus type emperor had he not died so early. He was only like 30 when he was killed in battle there against the Sassanids. But yeah, so that's the primary source I use, and he goes all the way up to, there you go, the date, the infamous date 378. So he goes all the way up to Adrianople and Valens being absolutely destroyed and losing half of the Roman army in one fell swoop. So yeah, so those are the kind of like the sources that I use. There's probably some smaller stuff that I use too in there. I've read several other books on the period as well. I don't have them actually. One of them's upstairs, but it's the it's a scholarly work. They get used as textbooks. Oh hell, I can't remember it's like the Routledge Companion to late Roman history, and it covers everything from like 200 to 400 AD. So I'm sorry, not 200, like 200 to 400 AD. So it covers like 200 years of Roman history. So like essentially from Commodus all the way to Theodosius. And it's a good book. It's really dense though. It's like 600 pages. It's very scholarly. It covers everything. But you got to be into that sort of thing. A more generic history, there's another honorable mention I'll grab here real fast. I read this book during my Christmas break here by Elika Sivani, and it's Aurelian and Probus. So, during the crisis of the 3rd century, Aurelian was the man. He saved Rome. Also, had he not been freaking betrayed and murdered by treachery, would have went down. I mean, Aurelian is one of the great emperors, but he would have went down definitely as a Trajan, Augustus type emperor as well, because he was about ready to go beat some Persian ass when he was killed by treachery. And let me tell you, the Persians were not going to stop him. The Sassanids, they were going to get rolled. They were going to get steamrolled by him, because he was like Julius Caesar. He literally lost like one battle in his whole life, and most people couldn't hold a candle next to Aurelian when it came to leading in battles. So, yeah, that's kind of this week's update. Hopefully, you guys found the source, secondary and primary source materials that I use for organizing these armies to be helpful. Mostly secondary, and then you have the Dignitatum too, which was a 6th or 5th century document that shows all the locations of the Roman forts and legions, and then it shows a lot of the legionary devices and emblems and all that. So that was another source that I use, another primary source. I don't have a physical copy. I used it online. There's some blogs that have reposted it, and I've used some of those. So yeah, that's what we got going on. Honestly, you probably won't see another video for another month, just because I want to focus on finishing the army. So probably early July, maybe end of June, I'll do a video showcasing my entire completed project, hopefully. So we're only 80 miniatures away, so I think in a month we can do that. So until next time, guys, keep on painting.